Hey, welcome to Mullen Stock. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications by hitting the bell so you never miss any of our uploads. And also remember that this is not a financial advice video. Now let's start. So today I want to talk to you on the latest 8K form that did come out. There's a lot of different interpretations that's floating around right now, so I want to give you my thoughts on that. But there is a lot of also rumors and speculation that's been floating around for Mullen. So I wanted to talk on that to see if there is any validity to that, and if so, what you need to know. So I'm going to go over all that. Make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, as you can see, Mullen did submit something after hours on Friday in 8K. And typically whenever Mullen does submit something after hours on Friday, that does signal that there is either a monetary touch to that or it's bad. Because as of right now, I don't believe Mullen's ever submitted something positive after hours on Friday. But surprisingly, if you do look at this, it's not as bad as what a lot of people are kind of portraying it as. So of course, leading up to this date, we already do know that there was two different issuances coming up for $45 million a piece of the preferred D stock, one of which was on April the 14th or 15th, the second being on May the 15th. And it does look like at the bottom right here, a lot of the insiders banded together and asked and requested to change it instead of May the 15th being now, June the 12th, 2023. And Mullen is accommodating that. So as you can see right here, that's basically what this is all saying. And of course they are doing this 8K because they are making an exemption to the purchase agreement. In reality, I do see a lot of people saying that there is no dilution happening, or whatever it is. Technically, this is already known information. So in my opinion, I do feel that this $45 million that was set for May the 15th is already factored into the stock price. My own interpretation, of course, who isn't a financial advisor? You guys do your own due diligence. So the fact that they're moving it from May the 15th to June the 12th, I don't see this as either a positive or as a negative. So it shouldn't really influence the stock price by any means. But still, this technically does count as $45 million in dilution, because the preferred stock is converted to common stock as well, the warrants. So again, that's just something for you to keep in mind in this 8K, though it doesn't actually signal what the new current outstanding shares is. And I think the last update that we do have was from a submission on April the 14th, if I remember correctly, or regardless, beginning of April, and this is where we did get this, 50 or 151.69 million outstanding shares. And keep in mind, that is obviously converted post-split. So again, I think it'd be good to know what the current outstanding shares is, because there's a lot of people that whenever there's higher volume or it just goes down, a lot of volatility in the stock price, people are very fast to say and shout dilution, but in reality there is absolutely no credibility to that. It's just pure speculation based on that. So again, when there is a lot of volatility in Mullen, people just quickly resort to dilution, and that's not necessarily the case. So it'd be very interesting to see the next time that they do provide the outstanding share count to see if there was any dilution, obviously between April and now, or whenever they do. So again, that's just something for you to keep in mind. Over and above that, though, there is this rumor that's floating around with there being a purchase agreement coming for FedEx. So of course, I think that in theory would be huge. And it does have some validity to that because technically Randy Marion has obviously your FedEx as a very big customer. And clearly FedEx uses the Class 1 vehicles for their deliveries, and I think everything does make sense on paper. The only negative what I feel is, let's say on Monday or on Tuesday, whenever that Mullen announces that they're going to be doing a FedEx deal, obviously through Randy Marion, I feel that the stock price wouldn't go up as much as a lot of people would feel, because as of right now it's just another purchase order. And I think at this stage people want confirmation that Mullen can actually get production down. Because as of right now, we've actually not heard anything about the M1 production. We've only heard about the M3. So yes, we can have 500,000 separate orders, but if they're not ready for production, then all of that is just going to be sitting in queue and potentially not really be realized to the full potential versus. Let's say the M1 was in production, and then FedEx announced an agreement, for instance, with Mullen or even Menzies, or whatever it is. Then yes, the stock price would shoot up very high versus, like I said, right now with no production. So again, moral of the story, Mullen, if anyone is listening, get on top of your M1 production, because clearly Randy Marion wants it. Maybe even FedEx potentially down the line, or another carrier. So regardless, get the M1 production down packed. So that is one of the rumors that is floating around as well. Like I said, this whole 8 key. In addition to that, I kind of found this interesting. So the rich and powerful piss on us. And the media tells us it's raining. So I find that very interesting and very true when it comes down to investor place. So I don't know if a lot of you guys know that the fact that they flip-flop almost on a daily basis. But at the beginning of May, as you can even see, they say that Mullen was a screaming buy. And they say many, many times that there is going to be a huge epic mother of all short squeezes. But of course their tune has recently changed and now they are causing a lot of fear, oddly enough. I don't know why Investor Place has so much power potentially over Mullen. But as you can even see now, they are starting to talk on how there is potential just bankruptcy coming. And when it comes down to bankruptcy and Mullen in the same sentence, that causes a lot of fear. So again, it's one of those situations that I think Investor Place has too much power when it comes down to Mullen, in my own opinion, of course. But generally, I just wanted to bring this up. This is obviously one of those things that people like to cite a lot of these articles. It does look like, based on the latest earnings, they feel that bankruptcy is fairly close, which I do agree that they need to really get on top of their expenses, but they have a lot of room that they can dilute. So as far as saying that bankruptcy is close, that isn't necessarily true because in theory, David could dilute quite a lot and keep it alive up until at least mid-2024, and that's even them kicking the production can down the pipeline as well. So again, just be aware that make sure you guys do your own due diligence as well. There was this that was floated around. So of course we already do know that rank day was already kicked off, and of course right now Mullen does not qualify for the Russell indexes because they did not meet that $1 threshold by rank day, which of course I think was April the 28th if I remember correctly. If they can maintain, I think over 10 consecutive days or something like that, there is stipulation of the fact that they still could make it on there. This is just a tentative scan of the market, and as of right now, they have not made it on. A lot of people are saying that this is the reason why it did sell off so much, for instance, on Friday. And that isn't necessarily the truth. Because if you, for instance, look at a lot of the 13Fs that have been coming down the pipeline, this is all the ETFs that hold Mullen as a result of their inclusion on the Russell, for instance. And on a side note, just so you guys are aware, all of these are pre-split amounts. You guys can do your own calculation. But arguably, if you add all these together, it's around, I don't know, about 12 million shares pre-split that was ultimately held because of their inclusion. But even if every single one of these did sell, for instance on Friday, which isn't the case, but let's say all of them did, all of this post-split works out to be only 480,000 shares. And keep in mind, based on Friday alone, there was 35 million for volume. So yes, if a lot of people seem to think that this is one of the reasons, or this is the reason why Mullen did sell off on Friday, that is just very, very wrong. But people were saying that it is due to this. And again, that is just a rumor that's floating around. And even like I mentioned, if every single one of these ETFs did close out their position, for instance on Friday, then it works out to be absolutely no volume. So again, that's just some of the things that is floating around. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. This isn't necessarily a rumor, it's just more of a critique against Mullen. But as you can see, they did have this. I guess I don't even know if they called it event. They just had obviously a lot of their Bollinger vehicles and Mullen vehicles all laid out at the Irvine location, which is good. But it would have been better if this was more of a media presence rather than I don't even know what the kind of reasoning was this for. But again, I think this is something that is room for improvement for Mullen. The fact that they need to actually do better PR, because the fact that this was posted at 6:20 p.m. clearly shows that this was already concluded. In reality, they should have posted this in the morning at least, and gone some attention, for instance, to come out to the Irvine location and look at these actual vehicles in person, because a lot of people have not seen either myself, the B1 or B2 in person. They're just strictly relying and looking at these from pictures versus seeing it in person. If someone does live close, then this would be a little bit more of a better selling point potentially. But of course, like I said, these videos are strictly for entertainment purposes only. So let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below. What is your take, for instance, on this 8K form as well? Do you think I was wrong about this? Or do you think I'm interpreting this wrong? What is your take on that? And over and above that, just generally, do you think, for instance, there is going to be a tentative agreement with FedEx, obviously, through Randy Marion coming down the pipeline, which, like I said, I think on paper, does logically make sense. Just Mullen needs to get their production down pat before they do start to accept a lot of these big tentative orders. Guys, that's all we have for you today. What is your opinion about Mullen stock? Get involved and let us know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching.